It's not unusual for me to be stumped by a drawing prompt, but I have to admit, when my Patreon members voted for sheep to be the theme of this video, I was a little worried that I wouldn't be up to the challenge. Hello, if you're new here, my name is Nathan, and today we're going to be drawing every Drawfee sheep and goat. This is the show where I take an archetype, like sheep, and I try to find all of the Drawfee characters that fit the description and put them in one illustration, but have it make sense by the end of it. And, you know, this is a very eclectic bunch of characters. The reason why I included goats was because I wanted a little more variety, and for some reason, I was really drawn to the idea of making this art piece sort of an homage to Victo Nye. I absolutely love the work that she's done in editorial illustration. She's made illustrations for like The New Yorker and just a bunch of magazines. I think she's so good at like surrealist imagery, so I kind of want to challenge myself to incorporate some of that in my own illustration here today. I really couldn't get the image or the idea of in the mind of a goat out of my head when I was creating this piece, and so I sort of knew I wanted that to be my focal point, and then I made this like leap in creativity when I was like, oh, I'm drawing sheep, so what if his brains were sheep and I just had all of them be pink? And for some reason that made me springboard to this idea of like, I don't know, anxiety. This is a very like artsiful piece. I really was thinking a lot about being young, getting old, how much we're like innovated with like media. Also, I don't know, like war. There was like a really strange group of sheep. We had an old man sheep, a very young boy sheep, so that made me think about age. And there was also all of these sheeps that were a tank, so that made me think about war. And in the mind of a goat, it was just like, well, what are all of the like invasive thoughts that I'm constantly inundated with with like the 24-hour news cycle and also social media? So I just sort of wanted to make a cacophony of all of that stress, but make it beautiful as a way to sort of like cope with everything that's happening in our world. Just thinking about all of that when I made this piece, which you might think, Nathan, that's really silly. Why are you having all of these deep, like, existential thoughts while you're doing goat illustrations? Well, sometimes you have to, because, you know, sometimes you draw a whole bunch of goofies in hell, sometimes you draw a whole bunch of sheep in a surrealist landscape, and it's actually deeply personal to you. So, don't yuck my yum. This is my art, okay? I totally just narrated over that entire thing, but you just saw me redraw that little Pokemon sheep boy like 3 times. The first couple times I was so focused on the foreshortening that he sort of entered an uncanny valley sort of situation where he was too real looking, and it just made me uncomfortable. So I had to keep pushing the abstraction to make him more cartoony. But I ended up really liking the end results because he does look cartoony, but still that perspective is still there, like his hoof is coming out towards us and he's receding backward. As for the older sheep man, I don't know if this is like the sheep boy's father or if it's like him in the future now old. It's unclear. Or maybe it's just the mind of a goat pondering brothers and fathers. There's a lot of artistic interpretation left up to this piece, but I just hope it encourages you to think about your life and how, I don't know, maybe you should call your dad, see how he's doing. Another thing about this illustration that's kind of funny is that literally while I was working on this, there was a new goat drop. Like, that's the goat e-boy from a very recent episode of Drawfee as this episode is coming out. And yeah, that's just how we roll sometimes. I'm glad that I was able to sneak him in here at the last moment. I'm really proud of like how everything is floating away from the space. If you go back to the beginning of this video, you might have noticed the Victo Nye piece, which was a frog. I was really like kind of struck by that, and I liked how he was in this water. And so I wanted to have the goat being like in the middle of like a lake or something, but I wanted to have these big black sort of voids on both sides and just having everything in his mind floating upwards into space. I don't know why I did this. Just a lot of surrealist imagery typically deals with like levitation, things that are uncanny. I added blue lightning because I was like, I feel like The brain is all electricity, so I wanted to have some of that. It also made the piece feel a little more rock and roll, which was really cool. I liked the floating television. My Patreon members can always recommend or request characters to appear in the background of my video. There aren't a lot of sheep characters that fit this description, but somebody was like, oh, how about that claymation Shaun the Sheep? And then also there was Big City Sheep, who I included in the middle of the coils or the cord of the television. So he's also a cartoon character from way back in the day, and I just thought like having that media presence is like also kind of nice and fitting. And the coolest sheep that I'm including here for my research are the sheep that you see in the corner with these like big hands and like the small faces. They're from this like really old video. And yeah, they're like these magical sheep animals, and one of them wants to be a ninja. That's the one with like the face mask in the very corner. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes research takes you to really fun places. I'm just finishing up putting in all of the colors down for all of the images. I'm pretty sure everything stays pretty flat. I didn't want there to be a lot of shadows. I was sort of interested in the, lack of depth, I guess you could say, but I do add some cast shadows on a few figures. Like I think the goat gets a couple shadows, the giant goat head, obviously there's several goats in the image, Nathan, and then also I wanted the sheep boy to have some more depth to him, especially because he had all that perspective, so I just felt like it was kind of justified. And then I added the water in the background. I was really excited about that. Just, it's so simple, but just being able to add all of that texture made it really feel like the Victo Nye pieces that I was trying to go for, and it just made everything so cool. We are very quickly reaching the end of the video as I am describing everything in front of you. I love the static in the void, so it's not just pure black, and the courage I had to make everything's, normally I draw with like a red outline and I turn it all black for the inking, but I think the red lines just really help that, I don't know, the unhumanness of it all. It made me feel like the Digimon movie when everything gets colorful, or like Bee and Puppycat or something like that. But yeah, with all of that being said, you can now see this is the finished illustration. I think it's so unique. Don't you think it's so unique? It's so different than most of my illustrations in terms of like what I was going for, but I think it's still like a good representation of my style. Like everything looks like I drew it. I think it's really cool. Let me know down below, what are your thoughts on this piece? Who's your favorite goat boy? Or you can comment on the style. Like this is a very different sort of illustration technique for me. And yeah, I'll see you all later. And also thank you for dealing with my chaos upload schedule. I know this is like a Thursday, which is kind of bonkers because I'm supposed to upload every weekend. But you know, deadlines are just guidelines so that we can be productive. I'll see you all soon. And if you want to support the channel, please feel free to like, subscribe, and if you really want to help me out, check me out on Patreon, link in the description. They got to vote for this video on the $15 tier, but for just $4 a month, you can have your name in the end credits. And speaking of end credits, here they are now. Special thanks to Anna SB, Axilius the Great, Blurryface EXE, Blue Uwu, K Clark, Christopher, Crystal NM, Dabadoodoo, Dax Quinn, MOE, Fro, Game of Catan on IG, Grey Gay Mothman, Gay Jairus, Haru the Moo, J Johar, JD Boy 2000, Lucky Paradox, Melon, Mild Mothman, Native Runner, Orion Amastasia, Pinecone, Poopy Tom, Prance, Redward, Rin, Scorching Ray, Sable Bunny, Sir Camelot, Smalls the Sax Jammer, Shenanigans, Thumper Daytime, Tortilla Chip, Tony, Tarthalinor, Tuesdays Anyways, Tad the Turtle, Tundra Katie Bean, and Tuppence Pies. My name is Nathan. I upload a new video every weekend, and I'll see you soon. Bye!